Hi, I'm Eva Fierst, co-host of Pictures at an Exhibition, and I am the co-producer of the Art Salon, an event, a series of events actually, throughout the Pioneer Valley and featuring local artists. Today we find ourselves at the Amherst Town Hall, where people are coming in and out and doing their business as town halls usually do. So we will be interrupted by conversations, telephone ringing, and door slamming. Bear with us, but putting that aside, today we are talking to Christine Copeland. Christine, welcome to this session today of Pictures at an Exhibition.
Thank you, Eva. It's great to be here with you.
So you have a piece right here that we are standing in front of that was exclusively made for this location. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. So I was told by the Arts Commission that I would have an opportunity to exhibit, and they invited me to come to Town Hall, and I saw this space, which was lovely. It was in the fall, and I decided to create this piece for the space. The other paintings I had been working on, but it was the fall, and I take inspiration from what is happening in the forest world in the fall.
I understand that you have a very close attachment to nature.
Yes, my husband and I have conserved a piece of land in Northfield, forever wild, through Mount Grace. And every day I walk in the forest with my dogs, and I come to our property through the fields near the Connecticut River. And for this particular painting, my inspiration were the wild turkeys that we see in the fields and in the forest. And the particular thing about this painting is that I find a lot of humor in the life of the forest. Certainly there's darkness, but not just that. And my encounters with the denizens of the forest sometimes have humor, and we have a lot in connection with them. So, for example, the male turkeys are competing with each other for the attention of the ladies, and I find that delightful.
I find the colors delightful. Yet you're employing very vibrant colors, even though it's a fall scenario. But there is some exuberance and joy in those colors that I find really surprising and uplifting.
Well, certainly there's no comparison to the colors of New England in the fall. So that's where that came from. My technique is I'm not a watercolorist. I actually work with acrylic, and I use flow medium, which extends the acrylic so that it acts like watercolor, but you can correct it. And so there are many layers of color, and the paintings get deeper as you add layers, which can have some transparency to them.
Yeah, which makes it a very watercolory look.
Yes.
And it creates a very light touch to your works.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing about nature, and I think something that has influenced me in my work as an artist, is that it's water-based. Water is so much a part of nature, and certainly of our environment in New England. So that's why I think I was drawn to watercolor types of expression in art.
That's an interesting combination.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't we all made of water mostly, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So, picking up on that water theme, I would love to talk to you about, about an image of fish.
Sure.
Can we go and see it?
Sure, happy
Thanks.
to.
So this hallway is filled of Christine's work, and we are going to stop at one of them to talk about fish. So here we are, another water medium, fish. And you can see in some of these images a very lively scene of fish. I think they are being referred to fish in the Connecticut River. Is that correct?
In the coastal rivers of New England, because in fact we don't have that many salmon in the Connecticut River, but we have a few.
So these are mostly salmon. I see some eels, but what I really see is a lot of movement. I have the feeling I'm diving down. I'm part of the environment on the fish, and I can practically feel the water. It's a very lively image. Down here we are on the bottom of the body of water, and here it's like kelp. I'm surrounded by kelp and some wonderful, colorful fish. Is that correct?
Well, pretty much. So the name of the exhibit was Seasons in the Forest, but my work is really about also the seasons of life. Yeah. And in the spring, that we just looked at fall, but in the spring, our Connecticut River is teeming with life. So the anadromous fish are coming up the river to reproduce. And there are many different kinds of fish that come up the river. There are American eels. There used to be more salmon, I think, than there are now, but they're principally shad, and there are lampreys that are coming back. So there's all this life in the river. Certainly the fishermen are aware of it, but most people aren't aware of what's going on in the river in the spring unless they go to the fish ladders. So this is about the reproduction of life in water, again in water. So we see the young salmon, we see the female salmon, and then we see the pair up above, along with all their companions of the river, because they're all coming up together.
So these images also remind me a little bit of an Asian kind of approach to depicting nature. And I think there is an influence there. Christine, what do you think?
I do, very much. When I was a child, 10 to 12 years old, my father, who was an officer in the military, was assigned to a post in Korea. And we went to Korea via Japan. And at that age, children are sort of waking up to the world. And that's what I think was happening for me. And I was especially taken by the aesthetic of the Japanese art and the Korean art. So I think that on some unconscious level, that greatly influenced the rendering of the subject matter. There are a lot of fish in Japanese art. So.
Also, I think it draws attention a little bit to our river and all the waterways and how we have to protect them, because it's a very crucial element of our environmental protection.
That ties in exactly with the work in the forest as well. Yeah. There's definitely an environmental theme to my work.
So let's go deeper in the forest.
Okay, sounds good.
So let's re-emerge from the underwater scenes and crawl out to go on the edge of a pond. So we are now finding ourselves at a woodland scene with some water again, but this time the feeling of deep, moist forest environment permeates the next image.
That's exactly right.
Christine, what do you think?
That's exactly right. So I would like to talk a little bit about the construction of the painting in this one. So when you create a painting, you really have to do the whole painting, the painting as a whole first, and get that well established. And in this painting, I had been told that one of my paintings was very light, very beautiful, and only light. So in this painting, I wanted to express some of the darkness of the forest, which can be dark both visually but also metaphorically, because not all life in the forest is always happy. So I wanted to express some of that darkness. So I created the painting, put in more dark in the background as I worked on it. And then the very last touches of the painting, which were delightful for me, were the cardinal flower and the lobelia cardinalis. So everything had to be created first, and then the cardinal flower, which is really sort of the subject of the painting, came last on that support, on that structure.
I like the choice of colors because they are really deep, vibrant colors, and they give you a sense of coolness, depth, and also the reflection of the water is something very meditative about this image. And the cardinal flower just brings to life. It's just it's this counterbalance and this joy that springs up on this whole thing.
Yes, and that's how I feel when I see them, because encountering a cardinal flower is a very delightful and somewhat rare occurrence in the forest.
Surprise in nature.
That's right.
Wonderful. So I would like to talk to you a little bit about your career as an illustrator and also about the book that you are planning to publish.
Great.
Right?
Sounds like fun.
Super.
Okay.
So here we find ourselves in the second floor of the Amherst Town Hall. And Christine has an exhibition with a slightly different twist on this, because it's Christine as the illustrator. Christine, tell us, part of your professional career is illustration, right?
That's correct. So I was trained in fine arts in college, but my professional career was in communications and the printed media. So during those years I did mostly illustrations, not really. I did some painting. And then I had small children, took a little bit of a hiatus from professional work. So with my own children and children who come to our property at Masson Ridge in Northfield to either just be in the forest with groups or with older students studying the forest. So every spring there are happenings in the forest that I think children can really relate to and become quite excited about, like salamanders, red F's, even beautiful little flowers. So this book, which is one of the seasons in the forest, is for smaller children to introduce them to some of the delights that they can encounter in the forest when they go out with their parents. The other reason I put up these paintings is because you can see the influence, or the illustrations I should say, you can see the influence of the painting, which is one type of process, and then illustration, which is really different. It's more focused, it's tighter, it has to be more sort of defined for children. So that was another reason that I thought that people would enjoy seeing the same subject matter, but different treatments.
Yeah. So what comes now to play in this book is, and in the exhibition here in the Town Hall, is the pages of the book and illustration of nature that are not quite finished. And that's what I like very much about this exhibition up here in the second floor, is you have the feeling you are watching Christine work. Some of the things are finished, others just are little pencil drawings, so you get an idea of what she is trying to do. You can also try to figure out the story. What is she trying to tell you? Is this a narrative? Is one page connecting to the next? How are the pages going to be assembled afterwards? You can come up with your children, or by yourself with a friend, and make up stories by looking at the images and come up with a story. It is such a flexible and delightful little exhibition that I don't want you to miss. So this concludes our conversation here in the Town Hall with Christine Copeland. You can see the show until the end of February, so you have some time, but don't miss it. Bye-bye.